What's up, guys? Welcome back to Young, Hot, and Divorced. I'm Tori, and I just want to thank you so much if you're listening to this episode. Also, if you are watching this on Spotify or YouTube or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're watching it, make sure you hit follow, like, subscribe, whatever you can do to help support this podcast. I would appreciate it so much. If you can't tell, I'm in a little bit of a new setup, and it's super exciting because I've been trying to come up with some sort of podcast room situation, but with all the moving around that I do and I don't have much furniture and stuff, I bought a really cozy chair and I am so excited about it because I just feel like you need a little bit of a comfortable space to be able to talk about what I talk about. I also have a little table and I can hold my coffee instead of having it hidden away and then having to take a break and take a sip. So this is really nice. I feel like we're having a little coffee chat this morning. Hope your week is going really well. Mine is. Today, I wanted to talk about a couple of things. The first thing being virtual co parenting, the second being relationships with ex in laws, and the third is a little life update. And also, I want to talk about going from being a single mom to suddenly being in a relationship and having to surrender and let go of being super mom because I finally have some support. So that's super nice. Let's get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is virtual co parenting. So, as you may know, my children's father is located in Miami and he doesn't come as often as I wish he would, but he does make an effort to FaceTime them every day. And I really appreciate that. And I hope the boys do too. But with that, there come some struggles. And one of the struggles that I find myself in is that I've got a 5 and 6 year old boy, and they don't really sit still. If you have a 5 and 6 year old boy, I think you know they're jumping off the goddamn walls and beating the crap out of each other and busy with their Legos and not cleaning up any of their Legos. So it's a little bit difficult to try to get them actually on the phone with him. And I find myself holding the phone and trying to travel to wherever they are. And I wish that I was maybe a little less physically involved in this process. I do enjoy hearing their conversations and what they're excited to tell him and being a part of it, but I find myself really facilitating this relationship. It's almost like, you know how you've seen these robo people where there's a screen with a person on it and maybe it moves around or something like that? It's kind of what it feels like. And the difficulty in that is that sometimes he tries to parent from the iPhone. So if the kids aren't listening to me or doing something, I appreciate the support. I really do. But I also find it difficult because whatever he's saying, whether it be something negative or positive, it's not helping the situation in that they're not listening to an iPhone. He's not here to physically be present and make them feel like they actually have to listen to him. And that makes it fall all on me. And I also feel like sometimes he says things that are actually disruptive and make parenting harder for me. And that doesn't encourage me to want to facilitate this iPhone relationship. I personally don't believe that you can parent through an iPhone. I think that parenting is a really hands on job. And this daily call that we have is nice that, he's remaining in their life in some degree, but it gives me anxiety every day. I don't look forward to it. I feel like it makes my job as the mother harder. And I also feel like it's also my job to facilitate this phone call. And I don't know how long we're going to be doing this for, but right now it's not really working. The kids don't really stay on the phone with him very long, and I don't feel like there's any substance to their conversations. A lot of the time, he's actually silent on the phone and doesn't really ask them questions. I find myself prompting him to say, ask them about their day or, who they sat with at school and things like that. And like I've said, I feel like that just makes my job harder. I feel like I'm trying to create this relationship that doesn't really exist. And it's like everybody says, you can't change somebody. So if they don't want it, you can't do anything about it. So I'm just trying to make the best of the situation for the boys so they feel like he is present in their life. But this whole parenting through an iPhone thing is just not real parenting, in my opinion. And I don't know how much longer we're going to be doing this for, but I do feel an obligation to keep it going because it's really the only consistent contact that they have with him. I did let him know that there were a couple of times where we would call him and he didn't answer, and that would disappoint the kids. Anytime they want to call him and he doesn't answer, the kids are disappointed. And I hate being the reason that they're disappointed. No, I'm not the real reason they're disappointed, but I am the one who's left with all of the emotions to deal with. And he doesn't, meaning my ex husband, doesn't feel that or understand it. And it just makes my job as a single mother more difficult. And I don't know how many other moms out there have this virtual co parenting relationship, but I find it extremely difficult and not so helpful. It is what it is, and my job is to try to maintain some sort of consistent relationship with their father because they're so young and they're not able to do that themselves yet. But at the same time, I'm sacrificing my mental health and well-being, and the kids need that just as much as they need him in their life. So I'm not really sure where we're going with this. So far, it is what it is. Maybe the kids stay on the phone with him for 5 minutes. They often drop the phone somewhere, and I'm like, where's your dad? Like, go talk to your dad. I feel like I'm really encouraging this just so that they have this relationship, but it doesn't seem like it's coming from them and their desire to call him and talk to him. It's a little bit more of a chore. I'm like, okay, guys, time to talk to your dad. And sometimes they're like, one of them wants to, one of them doesn't, but it is what it is. And I'm sure as time goes on, we'll continue to try to figure out this co parenting situation. He did send me a bit of a consistent schedule for the next couple of months, and I so appreciate that. But there is also this part of me that knows him and can't rely on him or his word for much. And I just hope that he's actually going to come through and see the kids when he says he's going to. I would love for him to see them as much as possible, but that's not in my control. And again, you can't control people. They're going to do what they want to do. And I just can do the best that I can do. And that's where things stand right now on virtual co parenting. But in my opinion, I don't know if many other people do this, but it's just not parenting and it's just not helpful. So if you're in a similar situation, please let me know how you're handling virtual co parenting. I mean, I don't know how much longer I have this in me, but I'll stay strong for the kids. So, the next thing on my mind has been my relationship with my former in laws, specifically my children's grandparents and aunts and uncles and things like that. For the longest time when we were getting divorced and when we were divorced, I really valued maintaining a relationship with them for the children. So, I would often take them to family events and birthday parties whenever I could, whenever we were in town, so that their relationship was intact. The other thing is that their father wasn't coming to New York to do those things. So it really, again, all fell on me to maintain those relationships. And I think those relationships are so important. That's my kids' grandma and their aunt and uncle and cousins, and I want them to have that big connected family. Of course I do. But since we moved down to New York, or up to New York, I should say, things have really changed. I will start off with the good because that's where I like to focus my attention. And the good is that my sister in law and I have the best relationship. I think that we've probably gotten closer through all of this. And I love that I have that relationship with her because my boys get to have a great relationship with their cousins. And I grew up with cousins, and that relationship is so special. Specifically, my cousins and I, they lived in Philadelphia, we lived in New York, and every summer we would go to sleepaway camp together, and we got 3 months of just consistent, well, I guess it was 2 months, but 2 months of consistently seeing each other every day, basically living together. And I think that that made us so much closer as cousins. And to this day, I value and cherish that relationship so much. It's almost like we were sisters growing up. They were just a little bit farther away. And I want my kids to have the same. So this summer, I sent them to the same camp that their cousins were going to. But this is where my relationship kind of deteriorated with my former mother in law. My former mother in law was paying for the other grandchildren to attend this camp. And if you know anything about day camp, especially here in New York, it is expensive. It's like sending your kid to college, and, there's two of them. So it's a lot of money. And I was upset for my kids that they weren't being treated equally. So the other cousins got to go to camp and it was paid for. And for my boys, we moved here and there was no support in that department. And I was ready to do Camp Mommy all summer, but knowing that that wasn't what was best for them. I really wanted them to start meeting people here that they were going to be going to school with. So it was really important to me that the kids were making these connections over the summer. And I really wasn't sure how I was going to facilitate that without them going to camp, because that's what the kids here do. And obviously, I just want my kids to fit in and make friends and have an easy transition through this entire process. I was so lucky, and I am so thankful and grateful and appreciative that my grandparents, the children's great grandparents, stepped in and offered to pay for camp. So the boys got to go to camp. They started a little bit late, but they were there with their cousins. And I think that their relationship with their cousins grew because they were spending all this time with them. And that was my goal. They also made so many friends. I can't tell you. All of the kids that were in their bunk went to the same school as them, and they're all in the same grade. So we run into them all around town. They go to school with them every day. They tell me that they sit with them. And when you see them see each other, they give each other the biggest hugs. And all of the kids that they have met so far and interacted with are the sweetest. And I have to say that their parents are just as sweet and kind. And as a mom trying to make friends myself, that's been pretty reassuring. I haven't had many opportunities yet to nurture these new relationships, but this week is back to school night. So I'm hoping to spend a little bit more time with some of the parents there and start forming these relationships, because I think it's equally as important for the parents to have a relationship to facilitate the child's relationship. My kids are getting to the point where they can tell me who they want to play with and not play with, and et cetera. But I remember specifically in nursery school and preschool, even in Mommy and Me, that is all on you as the mom to socialize with other moms and facilitate that social engagement between your children. And obviously, not knowing the moms here yet hinders that a little bit. It makes it a little bit more difficult. So the fact that the boys are creating these relationships on their own and kind of leading me to the mom of the child that they like has been refreshing and nice. And I actually ran into one of the moms that my son talks about her son all the time. I think he's like obsessed with him. They must be best friends or something. But it was so nice to be able to meet her and connect with her, because our children love each other. And I'm just really happy that the kids were able to form these relationships during camp and now have them at school. And I think that that's going to grow into better friendships, and also friendships for me to meet these moms and spend some time with them and, get to know some new people. So that's really exciting. But with all of this, unfortunately, my relationship with my former mother in law has gone down the drain. It's gone, for lack of a better term. I think that most people probably find it difficult to stay connected with their former in laws, and that, of course, they're going to take the side of their child. And I do understand that to a degree. But at the end of the day, my children are the top priority. And anybody that is not supporting them, whether it be financially, emotionally, physically, I just have no place in my heart for a relationship there. And especially if you're going to hurt my children, by taking away their home, their friends, their school, the camp experience. It just doesn't sit well with me, and it never will. I think that this relationship is completely tarnished. I was told certain things about, we were going to stay in Miami, the kids were going to go to the same school, camp would be fine. And, within a matter of days, that was all bullshit and a lie. I'm hurt. I'm hurt not only for me and that my life was upended because of all of this, but my kids, we were moving to Miami because my ex-husband wanted to. And then as soon as he didn't want us in Miami, we were gone. And I didn't get much notice, as I've mentioned before. And my job is to just make my kids' lives the best that I possibly can. And of course, I'm going to do that no matter what. But I do wish that the circumstances were different and that there was some way that we could have worked this out. But between my ex husband and his mother, there was no compromise. I was willing to move back in with my ex husband. I was trying to think of any sort of situation where it financially made sense for us to stay in Miami so that the kids had their family intact to some degree. Obviously, that wasn't a priority to them. And the fact that they could do something that would hurt my child really messed up my relationship with them, specifically my ex husband and his mother. Like I said, my sister in law and I have only grown closer because of all of this. My brother in law and I, my ex husband's brother, and I have a really good relationship too. We don't speak that much because there's not much to talk about, but if I see him and when I see him, I give him the biggest hug. I really do love him like a brother. And, I only have issues with people who hurt my children. It's as simple as that. And I also know that it's possible to have a great relationship with your former in laws. I know that my family loved his family and they really valued maintaining that relationship through our divorce for the kids, of course, but also because they are not bad people. We really did all get along at one point, and now that's changed. And my family doesn't feel the same way that they did before all of this either. And it's really unfortunate, but it's just the facts of divorce, breaking up a family. It just happens sometimes. And while I know that there is a way to have a really nice relationship, I also know in my heart, in my gut, that I am mama bear and there's no messing with my babies. Doesn't matter who you are. You could be their grandma, you could be their father. Do not differentiate that from some person walking on the street. So unfortunately, that is what it is. But you never know what's going to happen. There's still time for them to do the right thing. But this is not a forgive and forget situation. And it is what it is. So as I've mentioned a couple of times now, I am in this new relationship with a cop. And thank you guys so much for all of the love and support in me sharing this because naturally I felt a little bit timid and scared because I'm known as the girl that jumps into relationships and gets married. So everybody always tells me, don't do that again. And I hear you. I hear you. I'm not doing that again yet. All right. I can't help who I am. But I do have to say that being in this relationship is the first relationship that I've been in since I met my second ex husband. And that must have been in like 2022, 2023. So it's been a long time. And throughout that entire time, I have had to be super mom. I was in the hospital. I was operated on. You still have to show up. You still have to cook for your kids, even when you're sick. I remember throwing up in the toilet, like sweating, could barely get off the bathroom floor, but I had to. It's just you. And unfortunately, I also remember times where I really needed help and I would call my ex husband for help and he wouldn't answer and he wasn't coming. And I did have so many other people to rely on, but it's not in my nature to ask for help. And at one point, I really did have to. And everyone stepped in and showed up, and it was amazing. It takes a village. I never did this exclusively on my own. I did have support in different ways, shapes, and forms. But now that I'm in this new relationship, it's like, how do you let go of being super mom and starting to let somebody help you with things? And it's little things. It's like, I forget that a man is supposed to open the door for a woman. I forget that the guy, can go pump gas. And I forget that I don't have to pay for everything. And there is some part of me that has this pride in being this strong single mother and doing this for so long. But there's also a part of me that, never really wanted to be that person. I got married really young because I want to be a wife. I want to be in this relationship where two people support each other in different ways. So, something that I've been watching lately is Charlie and Erica Kirk's content. We can agree to disagree here, but I always think that you can listen to something that somebody says and take what you want from it. So, something that I've been taking from what they say are their roles in their marriage. I think that this time around, I want some more defined roles, but also roles that support each other. So, something that they say is that specifically, when her husband, this is unfortunate because he's no longer with us, but when he was alive and he would come home, she would ask him, "What do you need?" And he would communicate that with her, and vice versa. He would ask her, "What do you need?" And they really leaned into what they were best at. So she was better with intuition and the kids, and he was better with, the finances and things like that. And that's something I'm really trying to do right now is lean into my strengths and let him lean into his strengths so that there's some sort of balance where we're able to support each other in different ways, but also communicate. But with that, I'm not going to lie, I'm finding it hard to surrender and let go in certain ways. I have gotten better more recently. I think I've been more self aware and I want him to do these things because I think it's really important that my kids are shown a healthy, good relationship. Unfortunately, they don't really have too many examples in their life. And I do the best that I can as a single mom. Something I've been really working on with them is holding the door open for people. And they're doing great at that. It's kind of funny because they're still so little and some doors are really heavy, but I still encourage them to do it, even if, they got to get the brother in there to help them out. I think that that's something that I can do to teach them, what the right thing as a man to do is. And other than that, I think that you really learn by watching and having some sort of example. And that's another reason why I think it's important for me to be able to surrender. I don't really want them to think that their wives should be out pumping gas and paying for things. And don't get me wrong, like sometimes it's okay. But the way that I go about it is too strong. Like, I will fight for the bill and I will jump, to go get my own door. And it's really funny because my boyfriend was walking me to my car the other day and I looked at him like, "What are you doing? Your car's over there." He's like, "I'm walking you to your car." like, it's like, so I'm trying to support him and not discourage him in doing these things because it is truly what I want. But it's funny. I have like a physical reaction when he goes to open the door. Now I'm a little bit more conscious of it and I look like an idiot. I'm like standing there like, "Whoop," like I forget and I'm about he's like, "You can touch a door." He told me the other day that I looked like a battered woman because I was just like stepping back and moving away. So something that I've been leaning on him for is, don't take this the wrong way, but disciplining the kids a little bit because I get overwhelmed and he is so cool, calm, and collected. And the kids really do look up to him and listen to him. And yesterday, for example, he was cooking dinner because he does that, and that's incredible. And the kids weren't cleaning up their toys. And I was doing my best to say, do it, do it, do it, do it. And it just wasn't getting done. And eventually he looked at me and was like, you know, "I would have done this." And I was like, "Oh, you know what? Go ahead and do it. Let's give it a go. You try this." And it worked. And he was better at it than I was. And I was so happy. And I felt so much better letting that go because my anxiety was at a zero all of a sudden. Here I am stirring a pot of pasta and he's taking care of disciplining the kids. And the best part was that the job actually got done. The kids actually cleaned up their toys. And I think all of us felt better in that situation. I'm learning what to pawn off on him and what to take on myself. And so far, so good. The balance is really working. I've found myself since he's been in our life really feeling like life is a little bit easier. Our mornings are more put together. Our nights are nice. We have dinner at a table like a family. I can't tell you the last time I had dinner at a table with my children, even. It's just going well. So I know a lot of you are invested in this relationship and very curious about it, and I don't blame you. Eventually, I'm sure I'll share a little bit more, but like I said, I like to keep the details of this pretty close. I'm willing to share a lot too, but I've said this many times that this is a relationship that I'm very serious about. I really cherish and respect, and I am totally committed. I want this to work. So I'm doing the best I can to set up a really strong foundation for us in the hopes that this time I get it right. It's the goal, right? All right. So truth is that my boyfriend is sitting behind this camera right now. And I asked him if there's anything that I should mention. And he's like, yeah, like tell them about what you do. So he has a daughter, and naturally you can't expect, a dad to be a hairstylist. And to tell you the truth, I've never done little girl hair, but it's similar enough. And I was willing to do a little research and figure it out. And I did. And I had the best time doing her hair the other day. It was so exciting. And we signed her up for dance class, and she's got like these little leotards, and I'm picking them out. And I enjoy shopping for her. I'm learning, all sorts of things about girl clothes. You would think that I would know better being a girl, but I swear to God, little girl things are so different than like big girl things. But I'm really enjoying getting to have that girl time with her. Like I took her shopping around the mall. We got to pick out some stuff together. It's important, especially being surrounded by boys, that she does have some sort of female influence in her life and that support system as well, especially as she gets older. And like I said, I am so committed and I just love it. It's the best thing ever. I think that God really put this situation in my life for a reason. All right, guys, he interjected again.
You're not giving yourself enough credit.
I think I did.
You did a little bit, but not enough.
All right. He's saying I didn't give myself enough credit here. So even this, like, I have a hard time just like, I don't know, accepting my giving in the situation. So he said, God put us together for a reason, and our families are together for a reason. Our kids are together for a reason. You should see our kids together. It's just the sweetest thing. My boys look at her like a little sister, and they want to protect her and play with her. And it just warms my heart. Anytime we go out, they're like, oh, would she like this? Like they're looking at Barbies and stuff and pink clothes, and they know what she's into. It's so natural. There was no push. There was no, effort on any of our parts to unite like we have. And what more can you ask for? I think that this relationship is unfolding as it should. And I mentioned this before that when you have children and you're starting a new relationship, it's like once you have blended that family together, we're not unraveling it. It works. And I'm really happy. I feel like I've said that a lot, and it's nice. I've been really unhappy for a really long time. Just having this sense of peace and joy that I love his daughter. He loves my sons. Obviously, we love each other, and our children love each other. She calls my boys her boys, and it's just adorable. It really is. And they're so funny. They're a little bit older, and they'll walk up to her and be like, "You're going to be my little sister." And we're like, "Not yet." That's another thing. Like, if there's anybody out there, I know I have like some sort of shrink friend out there that has navigated this maybe. We're trying to use like the correct words. We're referring to each other as best friends, but I don't know. There's no real playbook for this, is there? When you start doing other things or calling people other things. I really remember when my mom had a boyfriend, she never really married him. Well, she did marry him, but she didn't marry him until much later in life. So I never really called him anything other than his first name. And our kids are pretty young, so I don't know what they're going to choose to do. I don't think we're going to guide them in any way. I think that we're going to let them lead on that one. But it's sweet because they mean so well. It's coming from such a place of love that they want to be brother and sister. How do you not support that? It's just easy, it's natural. So, closing out my point, I am trying to let go of this super strength that I have, and it's almost like I have like a wall. I don't know how else to explain it. I just need to learn how to let go, and I'm doing it. It's going to take some time to unravel my learned behaviors over the last couple of years, but for all of us, for his daughter too, I think it's really important to see this healthy relationship, and I'm just looking forward to everything that's to come. It's so sweet. Anytime we get the kids together, it just warms my heart. And I love her so much. And she's just the sweetest girl. And I am so lucky to have her in my life. I'm going to fucking cry. It's funny in a way because everybody has always asked me, like, oh, do you want a girl? Are you going to try for a girl? And I'm a hardcore boy mom. I never thought I was going to have a girl or anything like that. And I'm also a really girly girl myself. So all of a sudden, I have a reason to buy tutus and dresses and bows and all of this stuff that makes her so happy. And she enjoys all of the girly things and princesses and all of that. And I guess God did have a plan for me to have a girl. And here she is. Okay, pulling it together. Before I fuck up my makeup, I am going to wrap up this episode, and I haven't done a Q&A in a while, so I'm going to post on Instagram a little ask me anything thing. So if you have any questions, nothing is too personal, go for it. If I can't talk about it in the podcast, I'll just DM you, but would love to hear from you guys. It's been a minute. So thank you guys so much for listening. This is Young, Hot, and Divorced. I'm Tori, and I'll catch you next week. Have a great week.